going on, everybody? Happy hump day. Chris Meaney and MLB Dream back together again on a Wednesday. You're watching MLB Picks and Props Around the Diamond, powered by FTN Bets right here in GamePlus Network, as well as our FTN Network YouTube page. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us, all the support we've had on this show. Even though we launched, a little bit later on in the season, we will be ready for you guys when opening day happens next year. And we'll be hanging out with you guys throughout the playoffs as well. But happy to get my dream fix on this Wednesday. I missed you on Monday, dude. We have a lot of action around the diamond here today, an afternoon game happening right now, but there's a lot certainly to talk about. You and I maybe go over some standings as well, but happy Wednesday, man. How are you, dude?
Pretty good, man. Glad to have you back. I know you're one of the hardest working people in the industry, so I appreciate whenever you join Quan and I on here. But yeah, man, let's pick some winners today.
Absolutely. Lies, dude. Lies. We're all grinding over at FTN. We do appreciate all the support. As you guys are well aware, if you're not, you're just stumbling across the show because Dream has been hot fire over actually all of the season, dude. You've been hot fire, but especially over the last few weeks of the season. And, we want to fill people's pockets during the week, and then maybe a couple sprinkle here and there on NFL Sunday. So let's build that bankroll up. But if you are just stumbling across this show because of Dream's picks and whatnot, FTN 20, a promo code for you. Save yourself 20%. You get all of our picks across all sports, not just us two, everybody over at FTN. We have projections, tools, Discord, absolutely everything included in that package as well. College sports, it's happening. Basketball's around the corner. We've got a lot of sharp college basketball folks. Hockey and NBA will be here before you know it as well. Daily Handle is in the house as always. We appreciate the support from you, good sir. Okay, before we get into some of our picks, I just wanted to don't need it. It's all lies, Quan. Don't need to put it up.
Great work, Quan.
Quan's always the man here running the show for us. So just standings, there's not a lot to talk about, but we could maybe have a little bit of a combo here. The Yankees have a 5-game lead on the Rays. They really went through some adversity a couple weeks ago for about a month stretch. I remember you and I chatting about, dead last and WOBA and average, and they're losing some ball games, but they've won 4 straight and they've scored a lot of runs lately. And just what a scene last night at Yankee Stadium with Judge hitting 60 and then Stanton hitting the grand slam to walk it off. So they have that 5-game lead in the AL East. The Rays are 5 back and the Jays are 6.5. The AL Central, we have a little bit of a race. I'm honest, I feel defeated here. I want these races at the end, whether it's wild card or division races. I need it. I just love it. Cleveland has the 2-game lead over the Twins and over the White Sox in the Central. The Astros, of course, have had this locked up for quite some time. 11-game lead in the AL West, over Seattle. And they're already locked into a playoff spot. So let's actually look over at the NL. Last week, we touched on the Braves. We had a viewer question about the Braves potentially winning the NL East, and we were kind of on the fence about that. We did like the remaining schedule for New York. The Braves have won 7 straight. They've had so many long winning streaks this season. They're a half game back of the New York Mets, who are in action today against Milwaukee. I think actually right now the Braves are in action. And then the Central, we have the Cardinals 9.5 up on the Brew Crew. And then the Dodgers, running away again, 19-game lead on the San Diego Padres. There are a couple wild card races, I suppose, right? We there could be some. You and I were talking in the green room about just maybe the advantage of having like the second wild card. We got the Rays up at the top, Seattle and Toronto. Your O's are 4.5 back. And then over in the NL, we got the Braves healthy lead. They're either going to win the division or they're going to have that number 1 wild card spot. The Phillies and the Padres, and then the Brew Crew are 4 back as well. What do you make of anything? Do you think we'll see any exciting last minute races? Is it just really the AL Central? That's it? Kind of.
That one's pretty much wrapped up as well. I think I saw the White Sox division odds at 3% earlier today. You mentioned my O's, man. Their offense has just gone to shit. I don't even think they've beaten the Tigers yet this year, which is pretty surprising given how well they've been. But
especially inside the AL East, how well they've been, right?
I'm saying
a couple against the Tigers. I know anything could happen in baseball, but yeah, it's a little disappointing.
Right. So Jordan Lyles was hopefully he'll be a stopper today and get them the W. We talked a little bit about the Central and the AL wild card. We talked, the the third team that comes out of the wild card is probably going to have a bigger advantage than the first or second, because let's say the season ended today, we'd have the Blue Jays and the Rays playing each other, and then the Mariners would avoid both those clubs and get to play the Guardians, the NL Central winner, which, I don't think they're as good as those AL East teams. So that's somewhat of an advantage. And going to the NL, we talked about it, man. It's just the Mets and the Braves. It just comes down to who's going to win the division at this point and who's going to end up getting that wild card spot. The Mets still have a really easy schedule remaining. You and I were a little held up last week. We didn't know what Scherzer would do when he came back or how long he'd be out. He went like 68 pitches, 6 innings or something like that, 5 or 6 innings, perfect game. He pulled with a perfect game. I mean, he looks fine. So I still like the Mets there, even though it's looking more like a toss-up at this point.
Yeah, because you're going to get a couple more starts, right, from those two studs and Scherzer and DeGrom, and maybe, get those Ws, and that would be tough for the Braves in those situations. Yeah, I mean, all three of those AL wildcard teams have been red hot at the right time. I mean, unfortunately for your O's, right, the offense, as you mentioned, it's dried up, but 5-5 in their last 10. Tampa, 8 wins in their last 10, and same with Seattle and the Bluebirds for Toronto, 8 in their last 10 as well. A bit of interleague action. Man, what a wild game last night between Toronto and Philadelphia. A lot of runs scored in that one. And so we'll see how things move forward with those three teams. Maybe you're right. Maybe some of those teams are resting a couple, because that is an advantage to avoid those two and then have Cleveland. I mean, you're going to get Bieber, of course, for that first game, but it's not a scary offense. They make a lot of contact. They don't strike out a lot, but it's not. It's clearly, to me, it's the weakest team that's probably going to be in the playoffs in the AL.
I mean, it's right. It's pretty obvious. I mean, we're talking about two wildcard teams that they would win the NL Central or the AL Central if they're in that division. So yeah, you mentioned, I mean, it is big that they don't strike out that much. That will help them in the playoffs, that they're more of a contact team and putting the ball in play, and it just comes down to BABIP at that point. But yeah, it seems like we're seeing a lot of teams just limping towards the finish here. It's been a long season, and rosters aren't as big as they were past few seasons in September. So maybe that's maybe we're seeing that play out a little bit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's get to some of our picks. As we mentioned, there's a lot of action around the diamond. Those hanging out, any fantasy baseball questions, Daily Handle, you got any questions, leans that you have as well? We know that you're super sharp, always hanging out in the show with us as well. I am going to lead here with Rafael Devers over 1.5 total bases at -115. I was thinking about coming in here with the Red Sox over 5.5. 5.5 is a lot for me with this Boston team. They have been hit or miss over the past, actually, since the All-Star break, really, in terms of offense. They're striking out a little bit more, but I do like this spot for them on the road in Cincinnati. Like the ballpark for a lot of these Red Sox hitters today, up against Chase Anderson. We've picked on him a couple times. He's actually been pretty decent lately. His last 2 starts, 9 innings, only 2 hits, 3 earned runs, but I'm not buying it, guys. I'm not buying it. Over that span, he's walked 5. He's walked 7 batters in his last 10 2/3, 11 walks in 14 innings overall, 10 earned runs in those 14 innings. His last 2 starts came on the road, so that may have helped him getting out of Cincinnati. You always hear Great Small American Park or whatever people call it, but it's not a great pitcher's park. And overall, he has struggled at home. He's allowed 7 runs in his 5 home innings. So this is more so actually about Devers than it is Chase Anderson. He can get by the lineup maybe a couple times. You get the bullpen that comes in there, which I do believe will benefit this Red Sox team. But Devers against righties, he's just pretty much automatic, man. 23 of his 27 home runs this season have been against righties. 28 of his 39 doubles have been against righties. Doesn't have a ton of speed, but his only triple has been against a righty. If you look at just his splits, you see a pretty big difference in terms of numbers against lefties and numbers against righties. He's slashing 299, 367, 567 against righties. He's got the 935 OPS, 269 ISO. Just mentioned the power numbers, more significant against righties, 392 WOBA, 155 WRC plus. An awful August for him. I mean, that's the outlier. He hit a $163. That's it. 328 this month, 2 homers, 1 last night, 6 doubles over the span as well. -115. It's not plus money, but I think it's still a prop that I do like, and I do have in the bet tracker. So I don't know how you feel about the Red Sox today.
I think
against Chase Anderson, but
I think this is a good spot. Like you mentioned, the Great American Ballpark, it's ideal weather for an over, so we should see some balls flying. I actually wanted to bet the over myself. It moved to 10. It looks like it's getting close to 10.5. I wouldn't mind necessarily the 10 at this point. I know it opened at 9.5, but at this point, you're just pushing the 10, even though you missed the best number. And you look at Devers specifically, I think he's really struggled with the high fastball this year, maybe even throughout his career. And I don't think we got to worry about that from Chase. He's probably topping off at like 92, 93 miles per hour. And it's a small sample size, but Chase Anderson has a 385 on base percentage against lefties and a FIP of close to 7 versus lefties this year. So I like this spot. You mentioned it's not a plus money. I still like it. Devers should get on base a few times and, crush this prop. And I don't know if I'll end up adding the over. The only thing that's kind of working against us here is I believe it's an under or pitcher's umpire. Reppinger, I think, the guy that likes stabbing the guys at the plate. So that's the only thing I think.
What's that all about, anyways? I know every ump has their own thing, but that one always throws me off. It's just like this guy is just stabbing everybody out.
He's just a little too eager. I think I saw him stab somebody last week on the second strike, and the guy's like, "Dude, it's only 2 strikes. Like, give me a minute." But I don't know. I don't know what his deal is.
He's stabbing everybody. Yeah, 79% contact rate for Chase Anderson too. So again, not completely buying into what we've seen in the very small sample size for him. Typically a guy that, does not keep the ball on the ground. He has so far this year, which is, again, I think a bit of an outlier because it's such a small sample size, a 46.9% ground ball rate. Last year, he had a 36.4% ground ball rate. Again, a little bit of a small sample last year as well, but fly ball rate for his career, 40.5%. It's been above 40%. You can go back 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. And then, the past couple of years, not so much, but 2021 was 44.2%. The 2020 season, he was sitting at 36, and this year it's at 37. But typically for his career, this is a guy that has struggled with command and struggled with bomb. So, I mean, Devers, I'm not getting involved with home run props. Like plus 250 is not really for me. But I think, we get the homer. We're there. We get a double off the wall or something. We're there
even in 70 AAA innings this year with the Tigers, Anderson had a 33% ground ball percentage. So I think this is something, with a bigger sample, I think it would kind of come back to his career norms.
The 5.5 is too high, right? Boston, it's not even plus money. It's like minus 120. It's a bit high, but I could see them getting 6.
I mean, honestly, I could see this game finishing 10-7.
Yeah.
Like I said, the umpire makes me a little bit nervous. I need to look into, bullpen usage a little bit more, but I mean, this should be an easy over for the full game, Red Sox team total, and the Devers prop.
We probably should have led with your pick, but I get a couple, so we're kind of going back and forth here. I really like what you got on tap for us. Why don't you share for the people?
Yeah, I think you were on this one too, Meaney. But we're going with Robbie Ray over 6.5 strikeouts here at minus 125. Now, Ray has struggled over his last few starts in September, but this is a perfect get right spot versus the A's. Overall, Oakland has the 11th highest K percent versus lefties, but it's the 6th highest since August and the highest since September 1st at 29%. The A's definitely like to swing. They have the 7th highest swing percentage in baseball and the 5th highest whiff percentage. Now, Oakland doesn't necessarily chase much outside of the zone. They're kind of middle of the pack. But when they do swing at pitches inside the zone, they have the 6th lowest zone contact percentage and the 3rd lowest O contact, which is pitches outside the zone when they actually do chase. Overall, they have the 4th highest swinging strike percentage and the 4th highest called strikes plus whiff percentage. Now, Oakland has the 2nd most strikeouts in baseball versus slider, and that just happens to be Ray's 2nd most thrown pitch and his best strikeout pitch, with a strikeout percentage of nearly 38%. So Ray has hit this in 2 of his 3 starts versus the A's. He missed 1 by the hook, and that was in Oakland. Overall, Ray has the 9th highest swinging strike percentage in baseball and the 3rd highest Z swing percentage in baseball, pitches swinging inside the strike zone. And he's done that while maintaining the 13th lowest zone contact percentage. So he gets a bunch of guys to swing at pitches inside the strike zone and still does a great job making them miss, which is pretty much what Oakland's done throughout the season. Now, 2 things I don't love about this prop is the fact that it's in Oakland and with all the extra foul territory might take away a strikeout or 2. And also, I mentioned again, this is another hitter's umpire. But I still project Ray to pitch into the 7th here and strike out 7 or 8 batters to cash our prop.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, a great analysis, Dream. Fantastic stuff there, man. The fact that if he goes 7 with this team, right, the Oakland team, like they're not going to create too much trouble for him as long as he's not walking a bunch of guys. I think if he goes 7, considering he's got a double-digit K rate like Caper 9. I mean, I think he can get to 7 or 8 for us. That's why I like this as well. I mean, you had some really good analysis there, and something I'll add is that you mentioned the strikeout percentage, since September 1st, but over the last month they have a league high 14.1 swinging strike percentage as well. So even higher, they're swinging and missing. If you look at some of Ray's splits, he's got the 2.73 ERA at home, and he struggles on the road, which is, if you follow Ray's career, right, that shouldn't really be a surprise because he does have a history of allowing a solo bomb here and there. But there's pros and cons about this park. Maybe like you said, some foul territory stuff that would actually be out in the stands in certain parks and not so much here, but also just the park being so spacious that I wouldn't worry so much about the splits. I think he can go in there and, have a really nice day. The park kind of saves him in Seattle, and I think it could help him. It could benefit him as well, even in Oakland. And just 18 2/3 innings against the A's this season, 28 punchouts. So he does have a decent track record against them as well. Love it. Daily handle. I mean, I can't even wrap my head around a 6-team parlay right now, but we'll try to do it for you. He's got a free bet on DraftKings, 6 teams to put into a parlay. My goodness. He says he's feeling the Marlins, the Astros, Cleveland, the Twins, the Mariners, and the Cardinals. I think a team we should put in there maybe that I like actually today. I don't know how you feel about them. The Giants. The Giants got their ace on the bump and Webb into Colorado Coors, and Marquez hasn't been fantastic. I kind of think if I'm looking for one team to put into that 6th one, I kind of feel like maybe I'll lean with the Giants. I don't know how you feel about San Fran today.
Saying Marquez hasn't been fantastic is probably the nicest thing you could say about him. He has a FIP of over 5 at home. But yeah, no, I like the Giants today. I played them on the money line. I played the team total as well at 5.5 plus money. I don't know if there were some 4.5s out there, but I definitely like that money line a little bit more. And man, I was on the Twins last night. They blew the lead and kind of broke my heart. I think since September, or maybe it's just the second half, they have as many wins as the Royals. So that's kind of a team that's big fall off since the first half. So they make me a little nervous. But yeah, you're not going to hit too many 16 parlays, and I know you don't need to hit too many to profit, but yeah, definitely a long shot.
Yeah, I mean, you got a free bet here, daily handle. What do you do? Can we do 3? Can we do 3 teams maybe? Like, let's cut that in half. I mean, parlays are super. Daily handle knows this. He says he's adding the Giants too. He's into a 17 parlay here. No, we do appreciate. I've had the Giants. Let's go. Obviously, you're shooting for upside in this free parlay. I understand your thought process here, but maybe we can cut that down into potentially 3 teams. Maybe I could see the Bluebirds today. Decent odds with Kevin Gossman on the hill. I know it's Zach Wheeler, but you could ride the momentum of Toronto playing pretty good lately. I put the Giants in there, and I agree with you on the Twins. I'm just not there. They're just not playing good ball lately.
Yeah, no, it's kind of heartbreaking. And you mentioned Wheeler and the Blue Jays. So they haven't disclosed exactly what his pitch count is at, but he didn't make a rehab. I think he either threw a bullpen session or a live batting practice session. So Syndergaard and Wheeler are actually expected to piggyback today. I'd be shocked if Wheeler went more than 4 innings. So I went ahead and bet Wheeler under 4.5 strikeouts as well. The Blue Jays have one of the lower strikeout rates in baseball. So that's another spot I like today. And I fired on the Blue Jays as well on the money line.
My dog loves it. He's howling for you. I wouldn't mind putting the Astros in there either. We got him down to 3. Here it is. He's got the Giants, Astros, and Cardinals. Cardinals up against Snell. I don't love it. They're a pretty good lefty hitting team, though. I think I'm in on the Giants, Jays, and the Stros. That's the 3 for me.
Honestly, you should just take whatever I say about the Cardinals and do the opposite. I feel like I have not been more wrong about a team this year. I bet their team total yesterday at 3.5. Pretty sure they got shut out, which doesn't usually happen when I bet a team total, but here we are.
Speaking of team totals, we'll wrap up with this one. Yankees. I don't know. This may be a trap, but the Yankees at 4.5 here. I am drinking the Yankees Kool-Aid lately. You know, I mentioned it earlier off the top of this show, and the struggles that this team finally went through some adversity. But over the past couple of weeks, they've been one of the best teams in baseball again. Last 2 weeks, 23 homers, 77 runs, a double-digit walk rate. They're getting on base, and that walk rate I think is important for this matchup against Contreras here today. But their last few games, 6 runs in 6 of their last 8, 9 runs in 4 of those games, 21 in their last 2. Fireworks last night at Yankee Stadium. Contreras has actually been pretty good as well, you know, since getting back into the rotation. You know, he had the call up, and we talked about him on the show with Frank, maybe pitching to contact a little bit more. He's only allowed 3 earned runs in his last 4 outings, but he has walked 6 guys. He's walked 13 in his last 6 starts. That's 3.78 walks per 9. I believe he is pitching to contact a little bit more. And I think PNC helps him just a little bit away from PNC. These numbers are not crazy, but they're much better in terms of opponent slash line against him away from Pittsburgh. 243, 321, 412. I think his 42% fly ball rate could get him into trouble here tonight against the Yankees. Mentioned Judge. He's now up to 60 homers, 3 in his last 2. Gleyber Torres is on a little bit of a run as well and enters with a 9-game hit streak, 6 multi-hit games over that span. Since Josh Donaldson's been back in the lineup, he has 3 bombs in his last 8. Stanton last night with the slam. So I am going to back the Yankees here to score 5. I actually thought that this would be juiced a little bit more than it is. As you just saw on the board, I believe you can get that around minus 120 over at Unibet and DraftKings. So I am riding the pinstripes. Don't feel great about it. It feels a little dirty to come in here with Red Sox and Yankees props, but that's the way it is today, Dream.
I mean, I like it. I actually lean to the full game over myself. And you mentioned it's going to be a little tougher for Contreras to pitch to contact in Yankee Stadium. I don't really know what we're going to get out of Severino. I know he's done okay in his rehab starts. I'll look into that a little bit more. But I think the reason why we're seeing that juice where it is this game opened at 8 and it's down to 7.5, which I'm not really sure why. Wow. That's why we've seen money come against it. Again, I like the full game over here as well, and that might end up being on my card.
All right, I love it. If you want to see the rest of Dream's card, use promo code FTN20. As I mentioned, save yourself 20% off. All bets, all picks over at ftnbets.com. Projections, tools, access to the Discord channel. Always a really... It feels like always an intelligent conversation in there, right? Our subs are super sharp. They get in there in the morning. They're asking questions, and they just seem to be on top of it. It's if you like baseball, and Daily Handle's in there a lot too, and he's in there with some of his plays and things like that. It always seems like a really fun conversation in there, and you learn a thing or two from everybody as well.
That's what I was just about to say. It's a nice community, and people, come in with their own thoughts, obviously, and their own plays that they're looking at for that day, and they kind of bounce ideas off of each other, and it's a really good, positive discussion that a lot of guys get a lot out of. And, I'll hop in there and I'll pick on something that I didn't necessarily know before. Yep. So yeah, it helps everybody. It's pretty good. And
you get that, as I mentioned, Discord channel for all sports. It's a little bit easier. Everyone's in there throwing picks from different sports, but from all sports, we have the Discord channel. And a shout out to the Prize Picks show as well. You can use the promo code FTN, and they'll match your first deposit 100% up to $100. We have a free Prize Picks Discord channel because you can mix and match. You can take a couple picks that Dream and I have, and you can match them up with week 3 football, tomorrow night, Thursday night football, all that good stuff as well. We appreciate everybody at GamePlus Network, Quan as well, always running a perfect show for us, and we will be back on Friday. Good luck around the diamond. We'll talk to you then. Cheers.